Hey everyone, a warm welcome to the second session of TeCOS, an open source initiative by Technical Council. So this is Satyamurti from third year CSE department, and I'm also part of Delta Force. I'm here to give you a roadmap of how to get started on Git and to share my own experience and learning on open source. Okay, so this is going to be a very beginner friendly session, and thus there aren't any such prerequisites. So we'll be exploring the use of Git in the world of open source with Delta winter of code as a reference, as well as discussing a bit of the same in depth after the Git session. Without further ado, let's dive into the world of Git. Okay, so let me just share my screen here. So what is a Git? Git is officially defined as a distributed version control system, that is VCS. In other words, it's a system that tracks changes to our project files over time. It enables us to record project changes and go back to a specific version of the tracked files at any given point in time. This system can be used by many people to efficiently work together and collaborate on team projects, where each developer can have their own version of the project distributed in their local computer. Later, these individual versions can be merged and adapted into main version of the project. So basically, Git is a massively popular tool for coordinating parallel work and managing projects among individuals and teams. And one more thing, guys, knowing how to use Git is one of the most important skills for any developer nowadays. And it's definitely a great addition to your resume. Okay, now let's talk about setup instructions. Git is usually used by command line interface, which we can access with our system terminals, such as Windows, CMD or PowerShell, and Linux comes with its own terminal. Okay, so in order to install Git in your local system, you just need to go to your link according to your operating system and click on the download link and follow through the installation wizard to get the thing set up on your computer. So I am using Linux, so I ran this command sudo apt-get install git. For Windows users, just go to this link and download Git. Okay, so after installing it, you just need to start your terminal and just type git version to verify that Git is ready to be used in your computer. So let's go to a terminal and we'll type git version, git ---- version. So let me just zoom in a bit. Yeah, so if everything went well, it should return the Git version that is installed on your computer. So as you can see, my version is this, so that means Git is successfully installed on my computer. So after installing the Git, you have to just configure your username and email, which will be like present in the installation wizard. So now let's talk about the process of Git, how it works under the hood. So there are three parts. The first one is the working directory, the second one is the staging area, and third one is the Git repository. So what is a working directory? A working directory is a sort of like a workbench. It's where you work on your files, you edit them, you add new files, you delete files, etc. So after doing these operations, you just need to do git add operation. After doing git add operation, those files will be sent to the staging area. So what is the staging area? Staging area is the files that are going to be part of the next commit, which lets Git know what changes in the files are going to occur for the next commit. So when you do the git operation, they will be sent to the staging area, and after staging area, if you commit them, if you do git commit operation, then all the latest changes, all the tracked files will be sent to the Git repository. So while working with the Git, it's important to be familiar with the term repository. A Git repository is a container for a project that is tracked by a Git. We can single out two major types of Git repositories, that is local and the second is remote. Local repository is an isolated repository stored on your local computer where you can work on the local version of your project. Whereas remote repository is generally stored outside of your computer, usually on the remote server or cloud. It's especially useful when working in teams. this is a place where you can, share your project code, see others people code, and integrate it with your local version of project. So we'll go with the local repository first, then we will come back to remote one. Okay. So how do you initialize a local repository? So to create a new repository and start tracking your project with Git, you just need to go to terminal and type the command git in it. So we'll go to let's make a dummy project directory. Let's name it as a DWoC, and yeah, we will go to that directory. So let's say I'm in the project directory, and if you want to initialize a Git repository, we will do git init command. So this command, git init command, will create an empty repository in this project, in this DWoC directory. So basically this command will generate a hidden .git directory for your project, where Git stores all internal tracking data for the current repository. So if I do ls-a, then it will show .git directory. So this is a directory where all the like internal tracking data is stored by the Git. So we don't need to mess with this directory. It's just used by Git under the hood. Okay. So now let's talk about staging and committing code. Okay. So committing is a process in which the changes are officially added to Git repository. In Git, we can consider commits to be checkpoints or a snapshot of your project at its current state. In other words, we basically save the current version of our code in a commit. We can create as many commits as we need in the commit history. We can go back and forth between commits to see different versions of the project code. So this is one of the advantage of using Git. So let's say you are working on some project. It was working fine till yesterday, but after doing today's changes, it suddenly stopped working. So you can simply roll back to the yesterday's change, and you can get the working code again in a couple of seconds. So this is the power of Git. Commits are usually created at a logical points as we develop our project. So, but before we can commit our code, we need to place it inside the staging area. So as I said before, after working directory, you need to push all the latest code to the staging area. So this is the area where all the files are stored, which will be part of next commit, right? So before committing the code, we need to place it inside the staging area. So how do we do that? So how do we follow the Git commands to make sure the new files are in staging area? So for that, we use Git Status command. So Git Status, this command is very often used when working with Git. It shows us which file have been changed, which files are tracked, or which files are untracked. Okay. So we can add untracked files to the staging area based on the information given by this Git Status command. So right now you can see there is no such file in the DWoC. So let me create some sample text file here. So if I create a sample text file, and if I do Git Status again, so as you can see, it says sample.txt file is untracked. So it's not pushed in the staging area. So all the files which you edit or modify in the working directory are called untracked files. So if you want to push them to the staging area, you need to do git add command. So we can use the git add command to add our files to staging area. So as you can see, we have added one sample.txt which is untracked now. So in order to add to the staging area, you do git add sample.txt. So if you run this command, it will basically add this file to the staging area. So if I do git status now, you can see the sample.txt is in a green color, and it is saying it is tracking. So that means we have successfully added this file to the staging area. So git add command is very useful, guys. So you can add so many files, you can specify so many files and add them to the staging area. But one of the easiest ways to add all the files to the staging area is dot. So if you do git add dot, it will basically add all the files, all the folders inside your project to the staging area. Okay. So after adding the files, it's time to make commit. So as you can see, after adding to the staging area, we have to do git commit operation in order to push them to the repository. So we talked about repository, right? So there are two types of repository. So in order to commit the whole code to the repository, we have to do commit messages. We have to make commits. So what is a commit? A commit is a snapshot of our code at a particular time, which we are saving to the commit history of our repository. After adding all the files that we want to track to the staging area with the git add command, we are ready to make a commit now. To make a commit the files from the staging area, we have to use the following command, that is git commit -m. So there are various ways to commit message, but the easiest one is to use the -m. So -m is basically the commit message. So we have to specify the commit message after writing -m. So now we have added the sample txt, right? So we can just specify sample text file. Okay. So this is our commit message. So when you hit enter, it will commit it properly, and it will generate the unique ID for that commit. So in this way you can commit your code, and here the whole code is sent to the Git repository. So when working with the project, there are so many commits, right? So usually when you work with the big project, there are hundreds of commits. So how can you see the all the commits? How can you see the history of commits? So which was done after which? So for that you can use Git Log. So Git Log is basically it is a log. It shows the logs which have the details for each commit, like the author name, generated hash for the commit, date and time of the commit, and commit message as well. So so as you can see, we did only one commit, right? So it is showing only one commit here. So this is a commit hash. So this hash is very useful, guys. So if you want to just roll back to the previous, another commit. So let's say I want to go back to yesterday's commit. So you can just do git checkout. You can just do git checkout and paste your commit commit hash code. So if you do this, and if you press enter, then it will simply switch to that commit message. If it will go to that commit message, that state. So in this way you can basically switch between commits. So if you want to get back to the latest commit, that is the master branch latest commit, so you can just do git checkout and do master. If you do that, it will switch back to the latest commit, the newest version of your project. So this is the way you can shift between commits. So now let's talk about the ignoring files. While working with the projects, especially in the open source projects, you don't need to add all the files to the Git repository. Some files like the API keys or the passwords or some build folders, those aren't necessary to be pushed to the Git repository, right? So for that, to ignore the files that you don't want to be tracked, you can create a file called .git ignore. So this file is basically used by the Git under the hood to see which files should be ignored. So let me just open this file in the editor. Yeah. So when you open this file and when you specify the file names or the folder names in this file, these files will be ignored by the Git after in the future commit. So if I want to just ignore this sample.txt to be committed for the repository, then I can just simply specify this name and it will be ignored from the next commit. So this is the way you can ignore the files which aren't necessary to be pushed. Okay. So now let's talk about the branches. What are the branches in Git? A branch could be interpreted as an individual timeline of our project. So with the Git, we can create many of these alternative environments where we can, create different branches, so other versions of our project can exist and can be tracked in parallel. So the one of the advantage of creating branches is that it allows us to add new, experimental or potentially buggy features in separate branches without touching the official stable version. So let's say the master is our official stable version, which is a stable one. So if you want to test some experimental features you can create a separate branch and you can test your experimental code there. So it won't like mess with the official stable master branch. So this is the like advantage of creating separate branch. How can you create a branch? So in order to create branch, you can just use the git branch command. So if you do git branch command and if you specify the new the branch name, it will create a branch. So I will just create a notification branch. So if I specify this command, this will basically create a notification branch with reference to the master. So it's a good idea to create a development branch where you can work on improving your code, and in the end you can after testing the feature, you can simply merge with the master branch. So now you have created a notification branch, right? So how can you switch between different branches? To switch between different branches, you do git checkout. So git checkout is a command where you switch between branches. So you just need to specify a branch name, let's say notification branch. When you hit enter, it will switch to notification branch. So I am now in the new branch. So in this way you can shift between branches. So there is one cool command called git checkout -b. So and you just need to specify the branch name. So what it will do is it will create a new branch, as well as it will automatically shift to that new branch. So you don't need to create and then type the checkout command. So it will do both the operations in single command. So dash -b flag is used for creating a new branch. Okay. So if I hit enter, so now you can see we are in the sample branch. So in this way you can create branches, shift between them, and in the end merge the branches. So in order to merge the branches, you just use git merge operation, git merge command and specify the branch name in order to merge it. So let's go to master again. Okay, so I am in the master, and you can see there are two branches created. So how you can delete a branch? So in order to delete a branch, you can use -d flag. So -d flag will basically delete the branch you specify after it. So now I want to delete a sample branch. If I hit enter, sample branch has been deleted successfully. So in this way you can delete branch, merge branch, shift between branches. So this was all about branches. So now let's talk about the remote repository. So what is a remote repository? Usually as I said before, remote repository is basically the repository which is stored online, which is stored on the remote server. So usually we use GitHub, but there are so many alternatives like GitLab and all. But yeah, GitHub is a website where we can store our repositories online. In other words, GitHub works with the Git as a repository hosting service. So you can use GitHub as a online repository hosting service. So let me talk about how the process works, how you can work with the remote repository, and how you can contribute to it. So this is a small diagram which explains how the process works. So let's say this is our repository. So in order to in order to create a working copy of this repository in your local machine, you just need to do clone operation. So the clone operation creates a working copy of this repository into your local machine, and after that you need to edit your files. You can add, move files, delete files. You can do your modification to the code, and after doing that you can review the change using the git status command, which I said before. So git status is used to review the changes, track, see which files are in staging area, which files are not, everything. So after reviewing the changes, you can do commit, which I talked earlier. So you can do commit operation here, and after doing commit operation, you can do push. There are two types of commands, push and pull. So let's say this is your local machine. So push operation is basically pushing all the latest changes to the online repository, and pull operation is basically opposite of push, that is pulling all the latest changes to the local computer. So these are two operations which are very much used when working with the remote repository. So yeah, so this was all about remote repository. So let's go to so let's go to github.com. So yeah, this is a github.com, and I have one repository already created here. So this is a project. I will show how to work with the Git push and pull operations. So in order to do that, as you can see, we have to create a working copy, right? So I will just clone it. Just click on the code, just copy this link and come to your terminal. Let's say you will clone here itself. So if you do this, if you do git clone, it will create a working copy of your repository in your local machine. So I'll just go to that folder. Okay. So now I am in the repository. Now I am in the project directory. So if you want to do some contribution, let's create a branch. So if I do git checkout -b, let's say sample branch. So if I do this, it will create a sample branch. It will automatically switch to that new branch. So if I do ls here, and if I want to add some file, so let's say I am adding properties.json file. Let's say I am adding this file. So what I can do is I can just do touch and I can specify the file name. So if I do git status now, you can see properties.json file is created, but it is not tracked. It is not tracked by the Git. That means it is not sent to the staging area. So in order to commit, you have to send those files to the staging area, right? So as we talked earlier, so we can do git add dot. Git add dot means add all the files to the staging area. So if I do this, and now after doing add operation, I can do git status. Now you can see it's showing in green. That means it's in the staging area. So now we are ready to commit the message. So if I do git commit and I say like added properties file. So if I do git commit added properties file, so this will create a new commit. It will commit this property.json to this branch. Okay. So if I hit enter, you can see it generated a unique ID and it says one file has been changed. Okay. So if I do git status now, again it's saying working tree is clean. That means there is no new modification to this project. Okay. So now we have we added some files here. Now we want to push to the online repository, right? So what you can do is basically one second. Yeah. So what you can do is basically git push operation. So let me talk about the origin first. So what is the origin? So before linking your remote repository to the local one, you have to specify origin or upstream. So origin is a shorthand name for the remote repository that a project was originally cloned from. So I cloned from this, right? This repository. So our origin is this URL. So like more precisely, it is like used instead of that original repository URL. So I don't need to always type this whole URL. I can just specify origin as an alias, which can be used further in the Git operations, so that it makes our referencing much easier. So yeah, the origin is basically this URL. So you can verify it by using Git, typing git remote -v. It will show what URL is there for origin. So you can see for origin this URL is there. This URL is the same which is present here. So if you want to push the latest code to the origin, no, you can just do git push origin and the branch name. So if I do this, it will ask me the password. One second, I'll just copy the password. Yeah. So if I do this, so you can see here it has created a new branch in this repository, and you can go to this URL. If you refresh it, it will show the sample branch has been created. See, so this branch has been created successfully in this online repository. Now you can simply click on the contribute to open a pull request. So what is a pull request? Pull request is basically asking like owner or the maintainer of this project to review my code and in the end merge to the stable branch. So our stable branch is master, right? So we are creating a pull request, requesting our owner of this project to review your code and in the end merge to the master branch. So this is how a pull request is made. So in the while contributing to the projects, you usually go with this process. You just create a pull request, and then there are maintainers who review your code, and in the end they will merge it to the stable branch. So if I click on the pull request, so it will basically create a pull request specifying the title and the commit history. So this is the commit history where all the commits which are done in this branch will be shown here. So if everything works well, then like owner can click on the merge pull request, and he will like it will be merged to the master branch. So if you go to main master branch, so it will simply add these files like this. It will say 3 minutes ago I added this file. So like this way, pull request and all everything works. So this is how you can contribute to the open source projects and all. So let me talk about delta winter of code. So delta winter of code is a place where there are so many organizations you can contribute to. Delta winter of code is usually like it is a winter-long program organized by Delta Force, the coding club of NIT-T, and our aim is to support and improve a culture of open source software around the campus. So when you click on the organization here, you can see there are so many organizations which you can contribute to. You can filter them according to your tag. So if you are interested in machine learning, you can filter them according to them, and you can just try to contribute. So you can explore these many organizations, and let me just click on some organization and like go to its sub organization. So if I come here, yeah, under this organization there are two projects. One is backend, one is front end. So you can see the front end has written in Android and Dart. So this is a Flutter project. So if you want to contribute here, I can click on the no more, and here it is a GitHub link. So if I click on the GitHub link, it will open the same repository. Now you can follow the Readme file. Readme file is one of the important thing where it specifies how the project is written and what all the requirements are there to set up in your local machine. So yeah, this part. So installation part. So it says a requirement, Flutter, JDK 11 and all. After that, you can see the setup section. So you can simply git clone. You can do the same thing which I did before with the with you app. So you can simply git clone and create a branch and start contributing. So usually if you want to contribute in open source, what you do is you go to issues. There will be issues created here. If there are not, you can explore the code, and if you find some issues, you can create here. So you have to like find out one issue where you want to contribute. Let's say this issue he needs some like improvement in the Readme file. So you can just go to this issue and talk with the mentor, like ask him to assign me to this issue. So if he assigns you to the issue, your name will be shown here. So when you get assigned to this issue, so then after that it's really simple. You just need to work on it and follow the same process which we did before. Create a working directory, create a working copy of the repository in your local machine, do your changes, create branches, push them to the staging area, then finally commit it, and in the end push to that branch, do the git push operation, and finally create a pull request. So this is a way how the open source contribution works. And yeah, so in the end, if your pull request works well, if the maintainer feels it's working fine, then he can simply merge it to the stable branch, that is usually the master or major branch. So hey guys, yeah, that's it for this session. Thank you for joining, and I hope you understood how to get started with the Git. And if you have any doubts regarding Git or Delta Winter of Code or any other open source doubts, make sure to join Discord server. Link will be in the description, and all the Delta members as well as technical council members will be really happy to help you out. Yeah, thank you guys. Peace.